Alright, here we go. Alright. How the hell is this gonna go? Good morning to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor. Ready for today's proceedings? I hope so. I should be. Even I, with nothing left to... Good morning, my dear fellows. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you're here. Why, naturally. A true gentleman stands shoulder to shoulder with his friends in battle at all times. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'll see you later, then. Now, Professor, we really need you to remain calm in the courtroom today. Yes, do try your hardest not to enter the witness stand uninvited again. Yes, I will. I realize it was a mistake, but my dear fellows, I must interject. But... Oh, you're still here, Mr. Sholmes. What's the matter? Surely you've overlooked some praise, have you not? To be cast in my direction, Sorry? I don't follow. I'm not insecure or anything. Must I spell it out? I, the great Herlock Sholmes, the greatest detective of worldwide acclamation, arose at some ungodly hour to be here now. First thing in the morning. A miracle. You must agree. Well, if I must agree, then... As you know, my sleep is quite impregnable. I was had to employ her full gamut of tactics. She pulled the covers off, shook me, poked both cheeks, punched me, and kicked me for the bed. And she poured a boiling cup of her latest experimental blend in my face, and at last I was Oh my! Iris has been busy. Iris doesn't have it in her to go that far. She's too nice. Ah, I sense the spirit of a fellow scientist, one who relishes the infinite possibilities of blending tea. I'm the one worthy of praise here, not Iris. This is my victory. Sorry to cut in. Who's this? Oh, hi. Oh, Inspector Gregson. Good morning. Gregson, my dear fellow. Why the grim expression at this delightfully early hour? Well, I don't know. Maybe because I've been confronted with a grimmer expression, eh? Dear me. Are you going to take that insult lying down, Professor? What? I don't know! Oh, Professor. Anyway, here's the paperwork you asked for. What paperwork? Ah, I took the liberty of requesting it yesterday. I have a feeling it may prove useful. You wouldn't believe the hoops I had to jump through to get this brought out of the archives. It's the Professor's autopsy report. That mass murderers? Who killed 5 members of the aristocracy? He was found guilty in a closed trial 10 years ago now. It was all done under wraps. It was quickly executed soon after the trial. It's all in here. Interesting. But I don't know what to say. Thank you, Inspector. Courtney Stevens. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight, 17th June. Redacted for confidentiality. That's... This lock does look very strong, doesn't it? There's definitely no way you could remove the mask yourself if it was put on you. What a terrible way to treat someone, even a convicted criminal. I know. It's starting to make me livid, actually. Mr. Naruhodo, please. I mean, just think about it. Imagine if you had an itch on your cheek all of a sudden. You'd be utterly helpless. Well, yes, that's true. I'm not sure that warrants quite so much anger. Oh, alright. Sorry. Oh. Yes, much obliged, Gregson. Oh, slowly, Lord of the Yard, are just doing what we can. A shadow of the great Detective Sholmes, of course. Oh. We still love you, Gregson. Well then, Professor Harebrain, this is it. The day we're going to lay all this to rest at last. I wish you the best of luck, Professor. I suppose he'll be in there today, will he? Drebber. Yes. We expect the prosecution to summon him as a witness. I'm still amazed that you managed to find him in just one day. I really owe you both so much. Counsel, you're the defendant. Trial's about to resume. You can only make your way into the courtroom at once. Oh, dramatic entry. This is it then. The final chapter. Funny, my heart's racing a little. I've not felt this before, actually. A strange foreboding. As if something's going to happen in this trial that I'm not ready for. I can't let that distract me from the only thing that really matters. Finding the truth. Oh? By the name of Her Majesty, the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the public hearing of Albert Hairbrain, here present, who stands accused of murder. All the counsels for the prosecution and the defense ready to proceed. The prosecution is ready, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. As promised, Lord Van Zieks has his apprentice with him. His apprentice with memory loss. If I may, Lord Van Zieks. Yes, my lord. There appears to be someone standing at your side. Ah, yes, my apprentice and assistant. The prosecution believes today's proceedings will see the complexity of this case rise considerably. Extra much? I therefore instructed my assistant to attend to ensure the smooth running of the trial. And the smooth running of liquid refreshments by the look of it. It's in his sommelier trading. The way he holds himself, the way he moves. Couldn't be anyone else. But he's still suffering from amnesia. Well, there's really nothing we can do at the moment. I know, but no, this is so very hard. It would appear the prosecution has done a fine job in responding to the demands of the court made yesterday. I understand that you have successfully secured the engineer who disappeared from the scene on the day in question. Yes, my lord. I intend to call him as a witness shortly. Hey, we did that! Very good, very good. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this courtroom today. Are you ready and willing to proceed? Of course, my lord. I'm sure we all understand the importance of doing our civic duty. I do despise deception and deceit. I find it so very wearing. To take a man's life with a conjuring trick. It is against the magician's code not to mention the law. Any fake scientist should feel the wrath of God, if you ask me. We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence and settle on one. That's it, right? Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. And kids in your due process and your habeas corpus. If all parties are ready to proceed, you may begin, Lord Van Zieks. For I do, my lord. There is a report I must read to the court. Yesterday, at the great exhibition grounds, the evidence of primary importance in this case, super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine which was installed on the experimentation stage, was deliberately destroyed in an explosion affected by an unknown person or persons. It was what? An explosion? This is an outrage. Yes, I heard this grave news yesterday. Scotland Yard submitted a report to my office in the evening. I read that the machine was blasted to smithereens and the wreckage was reduced to ashes in the flames. I have here a photographic print of the scene taken in the wake of the explosion. There's still a giant pit leading down. It shows what little remains of the machine. Yes, a terrible business. He didn't destroy the evidence, did he? That Enoch Drebber. The court will take this print as evidence, counsel. Oh, the metal floor of the stage has been blown open by the explosion. Late yesterday afternoon. It looks too clean to have been blown open. And the sides and the edges of the metal floor look to be hinged, too. So, like, there's an intentional trapdoor mechanism. Late yesterday afternoon, protection afforded to the machine by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act was revoked. However, before a thorough investigation could begin, the invention was obliterated from existence. As such, this will become a very different trial. Eh? Are you really gonna blame Hairbrain? Stands now with no evidence on which to draw meaningful conclusions. The authenticity of the Kinesis machine will remain forever in obscurity. Indeed. Most unfortunate state of affairs. However, one thing remains clear. The victim's death was the result of the actions of the accused. Surprised the consideration hasn't been made that the Reaper came. The Reaper came for the Kinesis machine. Of that we can be certain. For it was the accused himself who was operating the machine and who ultimately caused its loss of control.
Objection!
As Lord Van Zeeks rightly says, this is a very different trial now. The accused accepts responsibility for his part in the events that transpired. He acknowledges that Mr. Aspen died as a result of the accident caused by his machine's malfunction. However, unbeknownst to the professor, he was being deliberately deceived by a pair of very clever fraudsters. Names, counsel, if you please. The engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, and the victim himself, Mr. Odie Aspen. So what exactly were those two men up to behind the defendant's back? The defense intends to expose that information, thus establishing the unequivocal innocence of the defendant. You ever just rush into reading a really big word really quickly and it just feels like it just gets jumbled up and halfway through? That's what happened there. Thank you, counsels. The positions of the prosecution and defense have been clearly stated. I want to say remarkably well. It's like for the first time in quite some time, we have a really clear and firm position to stand on. Lord Van Zeek, summon your first witness, please. At once, my lord. The prosecution calls the engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to the stand. Oh, yeah. State your name and occupation for the court. Name, Enoch Drebber. Occupation. Hard to pin down, I would say. That black monocle. Yes, why do I feel as though I've seen it somewhere before? Oh, you too. I had exactly the same feeling myself. Your file indicates that you are currently being investigated in connection with another case. The theft of a waxwork model, is it? A most extraordinary sounding business. But that is no bearing on this trial, I assure you. Cleave it from your mind. You're familiar with the public experiment carried out at the Great Exhibition some days ago. The accused super high voltage instantaneous kinesis demonstration. Yes, you could say that. I am aware of it. There was a terrible accident, wasn't there? It was you, Mr. Drebber, who constructed the vast machine used in the experiment. Or so our investigations indicate. Can you confirm your involvement? Yes, I constructed it, in precise accordance with the blueprints, but that's all. And the court would be very interested to hear your thoughts about the machine, I'm sure. An amazing device, if you ask me. The pinnacle of modern science, making instantaneous kinesis a reality at last. What? Good. Good gracious. What do you mean to say? The experiment was bona fide? Is that your belief, sir? Yes, that is very much my belief. Much a waste that it blew up.
Objection!
But we've already established the machine was nothing but more than a prop for an elaborate conjuring trick.
Objection!
You've established nothing of the sort. All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings is that the same outcome could have been produced by means of stage trickery. The defense merely proposed a method and demonstrated its feasibility, nothing more. And we're back on the back foot. We procrastinated long enough, I feel. Witness, you will now give your formal testimony about the machine you constructed for the purpose of the demonstration of the Great Exhibition. Understood. I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago through Mr. Aspen's introduction. He provided me with the blueprints and I constructed the machine to his precise specifications. It was no trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads and then crash headfirst into the crystal tower. A terrible accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science on which the machine was built was flawed somehow. Oh boy. A body double? That goes without saying, surely. To give the impression that something has moved when in reality it hasn't. It's a basic conjuring principle. Deception cannot be achieved without substituting the original with a fake at some point in the performance. But would I be right in saying you haven't managed to establish anything along those lines? You certainly haven't. Incidentally, the prosecution has already confirmed that Mr. Aspen has no twin sibling. It's my understanding that this witness is well versed in conjuring artfulness. But such talents do not indicate that he was actually able to accomplish what he claims. Namely, the construction of what by all accounts must have been an extremely complex scientific machine. Whatever do you mean? Yesterday's proceedings brought the true nature of your past exploits to light, Mr. Drebber. Indeed it did, my lord. It's a swindler who preys on innocent scientists to elicit government grant money through conjuring know-how. Yes, it's true that I possess considerable knowledge of stage magic. But, crucially, my scientific knowledge more than matches that of any academic in the field. I love that grain of his. Investigation of the witness's workshop attests to that claim, my lord. As evidence, police found this Royal Society trophy for young talent in science here. Yes, that's true. We spotted it there ourselves. If the hypothesis is sound, it can always be forced into physical manifestation with sufficient skill. Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive wiles to sniveling talentless scientists in the past, would you therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was an unfortunate accident? Or, of course, a deliberate act of murder carried out by misuse of the science? Oh boy. Counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord.
Hold it!
So you were already acquainted with Mr. Aspen himself? Not really. By chance I'd seen his name mentioned in the papers, that's all. But I had no interest in his private affairs. If he was an unscrupulous investor, it was no concern of mine. As long as people pay their bills, I take at my tools and construct what they ask for. So why did Mr. Aspen approach you in particular, then? Who can say? I presume because my name is associated with excellence in engineering. Not to mention excellence in fraud. Ooh, burn. Hard to gauge. The point is, all I did was construct the machine according to the blueprints I was given. In other words, the kinesis machine was built on solid scientific principles. Yes, you might say that. Professor Hairbrain certainly has a mind like no other.
Hold it!
It's clear that you have both scientific knowledge and the knowledge of conjuring magic, however. The more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to handle whatever comes along. But your implication is that I furnished the machine with some trickery, I think. It's a possibility that we have to explore. Unfortunately, though, the machine has been blown to Kingdom Come. So there's really nothing left to explore, is there? It appears that the Kinesis machine was fitted with a timed explosive device of some kind. And there's nothing left of that device either. Not a single shred of evidence remaining, I hear. I must have planned all this from the outset. But in any case, it's abundantly clear that the experiment could have been a trick.
Hold it!
Of course, that's it! Mr. Aspen was a twin!
Objection!
You fool, I have just said this. Perhaps my learned friend wasn't listening earlier. Mr. Aspen had no twin siblings. No, I heard you before. But the thread of hope had quite left me. The demonstration could have been a trick. There was somebody who looked sufficiently like the victim. But Dr. Sith absolutely ruled that as a possibility. It's beyond question that the victim himself, Mr. Aspen, did move from the stage to the Crystal Tower. The fingerprints found at the scene attest to the fact. So it can't have been orchestrated using someone who looked identical to Mr. Aspen, then. So he was at the tower at some point, and then wound up in the cage of the balloon, and got dropped into the... was at the stage at some point, then wound up in the cage in the balloon, and then dropped into the tower. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, no, nothing. Just that the idea of someone who looked identical, the victim, is playing on my mind. We'll keep that in mind, then. All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads.
Hold it!
It crashed head first, you say? According to the many witness reports on those that were there at the time, yes. Were you not there at the exhibition grounds on the day? Unlikely. I rarely leave my workshop. Another of your unique inventions was found at the scene. Well, it was the unveiling of a machine I'd labored over for many months. I saw it clearly with my own eyes. Birdcage plummeting headfirst into the tower. What a surprise! I believe the victim's neck was broken for the headlong fall, wasn't it? How would you have come by that information? Even an infernal recluse like me reads the newspapers, you know. According to the reports, 2 injuries were apparent on the victim's body. Yes, he'd been stabbed in the chest by a screwdriver believed to belong to the defendant, and he had broken vertebrae as a result of a fall from a considerable height. Correct. My learned friend has been doing his research, it seems. Do we know which injury was the fatal one? Sadly not. Forensic science is not at a level where such things can be determined. What we do know is that the victim died having sustained both injuries at some point during the experiment. Since he was found in the birdcage with his neck broken, it's obvious that he fell from a considerable height. I suppose that's hard to deny.
Hold it!
That's a little inflammatory. So you understood the science, did you? Not in the slightest. Eh? Oh, right. As I've said a number of times, I'm an engineer. My job is to manufacture according to the blueprints I'm given. I'll be inviting manifold problems if I foolishly allowed my brain to digest the ideas behind them. I could be accused of stealing those ideas, for example. But how is it possible to construct a machine without really understanding the principles it relies on? Well, you're practicing law without really understanding the principles it relies on, aren't you? Very good point. Stand up for yourself, Mr. Naruhodo. Point is, the experiment resulted in instantaneous kinesis taking place. As such, the science must be sound. Yes, and really, experimental results are all that matters when it comes to proving a hypothesis. He's certainly very sure of himself. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now that the machine has been completely destroyed by yesterday's explosion, it's going to be impossible to argue its authenticity one way or the other. If we're unable to establish that it was a piece of stage trickery rather than genuine science, we will have no grounds on which to demonstrate Professor Harebrain's innocence. Both Mr. Aspen and this man in the stand tricked the professor and used him. They took advantage of his naivety and his unbending belief in his work, and I won't let them get away with it. And seeing as the professor is an old friend of Lord Van Ziek's, what on earth must he be feeling towards Drebber? Oh, hang on. Oh, shoot. Nearly locked in on the wrong statement there.
Objection!
Yeah, it did not fall head first. We've examined the bird cage that crashed into the crystal tower ourselves. As you can see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot. Following the explosion, it fell some 30 feet into the glass of the crystal tower. That level of damage is to be expected, surely. I agree. The damage itself is entirely understandable. What doesn't make sense is the location of that damage. All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the birdcage, not the top. What are you saying? That's the opposite way they should be. That's right, my lord. The birdcage that was at the scene is damaged at its base. So we have reports of the birdcage falling headlong into the crystal tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were two bird cages in play that day, which were at some point switched. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. Because there's not blood on this one. There's blood running off of this one. No, that's not blood running off of that one. I don't know if we can use that as concrete proof right now, but good gracious! Explain yourself, witness. Well, if we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we can draw. Damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed tail first into the tower. but multiple witness reports claim it fell headfirst. The birdcage materialized in the sky next to a balloon flying over the stage, following a spontaneous explosion, at an altitude of some 60 feet above ground level, which is approximately 18 meters. It then proceeds to fall some 30 feet into the crystal tower in the ensuing deflagration. Witness reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable.
Objection!
But the victim's neck was broken.
Objection!
He plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However he fell, it would be unsurprising to find one or two of his vertebrae crushed. A riveting scientific analysis of events from the prosecution there. Though to be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebra, actually. It wasn't quiet for long. I find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Van Zeeks. This is clearly a swindler, and one who deceived a personal friend of his. All the more reason for him to stay neutral. If you're going to establish this deception, do it right. Sorry? I feel like that's the undertone here. Ah, yes, there's one more point. The defense appears to have forgotten. Huh. Did Ryunosuke read that correctly? Impressive, sir. Just gonna let him shimmy there for a bit. It obviously wasn't a trick, as a certain truth very plainly demonstrates. What? Also, Drebber's theme is quite lovely. It seems to me that the cross-examination had better continue until we resolve this matter. Mr. Drebber, you will amend your testimony with details of this truth. Of course. We must treat the matter scientifically, after all. Nearly had him there. Thank you. The kinesis clearly took place, because there's nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen from.
Hold it!
What do you mean? Well, before the demonstration began, the victim was alive on stage in front of the audience. Yes, there are lots of witnesses who saw Mr. Aspen on the experimentation stage, that's true. The victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following a fall. Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was at an altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. A difference of 30 feet is therefore the total distance the birdcage fell. There's no other location from which the cage could have fallen that distance if it didn't drop out of the sky. Ergo, the victim himself must have been beamed from the stage into the sky above the crystal tower. A trenchant scientific analysis. Dear me, every time I hear it explained, it sounds increasingly plausible. Oh yes. It's all very well thought out. Certainly all the spectators that on that day saw it. Birdcage plummeting 30 feet through the air. I mean, irritatingly, yes. I'm sorry? Just making sure. Right. Van Zeeks mentions the balloon. There's no other location. Is he just fucking outright rejecting the balloon? Despite Van Zeek's just brought it up? I wonder about that.
Objection!
The defense would have to object to that last statement, my lord. And I would have to overrule your objection, counsel. Okay. The defense would have to accept the penalty given. Glad to hear it. And you would also have to think again. This press still feels odd. So if it's not that, then...
Objection!
The tower? This is a diagram of the experimentation stage and its surroundings. It's like, Van Zeek's brought up the balloon, which was from a suitable height, and then Drebber just seemed to like pretend it didn't exist. But somehow the birdcage appeared in midair before falling down into the crystal tower. Bonk. A fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you'll see that there is one other possible location in which the birdcage could have fallen. The same distance of 30 feet. No. Well, it appears the defense has a possible explanation to put forward. Go ahead, counsel. Yes, my lord. Of course. You'll indicate the place to which you are referring on the same diagram. The alternative location for which the birdcage would possibly fall in the requisite 30 feet. Why can I not scroll up? This feels odd, so I'm going to drop a save here.
Take that!
If it had fallen from here, birdcage would have plummeted the same 30-foot distance. Nope. It didn't take. If that's my learned friend's claim, I suggest he demonstrates for the court. Personally. Huh? And you may consider this a parting gift, counsel. Presented bad evidence, you could die in hell. I feel like I just hit the deck from 30 feet up anyways now. Don't give me recourse to make the next fall from 60 feet up, You will indicate the place to which you are referring to in the same diagram, okay. It just fucking zoomed in.
Take that!
Okay. Oh, I was... Yeah, okay, alternate thought. I was just talking about how the photo shows... It looked like a fucking trapdoor here. And we're just talking about 2 cages, so naturally...
Take that!
The place I'm referring to is here. But that's... where the birdcage would have been to begin with. Yeah, I'm just overthinking that here. It's exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine on the stage. What we must also consider is the height of the stage itself. Go on, counsel. It turns out that the experimentation stage was built at a considerable height above ground level. Look at the diagram, in fact. You'll see it's about the same height as above the ground as the balloon was above the crash site. When the experiment got underway, the machine and the birdcage were engulfed in steam. Whee! Splat. At that moment, the floor of the stage gave way, and if we were to assume a void, they'd be avoided underneath. This birdcage and the one seen by the audience have fallen almost exactly the same distance. Once again, my lord, this all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage, but two.
Objection!
My learned friend, there's no evidence that the stage had such a contrivance in its design. Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the kinesis machine itself, it's true. However, the stage still stands. Take a moment to look at the photographic print of the scene following yesterday's explosion. Hinges! Good lord, the metal grill that formed the floor of the machine is undone. Yes, most likely blown open by the force of the explosion that destroyed the rest of the machine. A defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated immediately. Mr. Drebber? It was you who built the kinesis machine, which means that it was you who built the two bird cages that were used to carry out this deception. Whether Professor Hairbrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference, because it's the construction of this machine that matters, a machine designed to take Mr. Aspen's life. I'd lay the blame firmly at the professor's door, something that could only have been carried out by you, Mr. Enoch Drebber. Ooh.
Objection!
Straight sommelier behavior there. My learned friend has reached the end of his wild assertions, and even sheathed afterwards, and steps back. Right. Not the chalice. Prosecution would like to crush the defense's argument slowly but surely. What? Your argument fails to hold water. On 2 counts. 2? First, before and after the experiment, this witness went nowhere near the kinesis machine. Every relevant member of the staff from the exhibition has attested to that. And I believe the members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment. In other words, Mr. Drebber had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages. But I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to. The nonsense with the crossbow doesn't bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed into the tower are one and the same. The forensic investigation team's report is unequivocal on that point. The second flaw in your assertion is a distinct lack of motive. Why would this man have wanted to take the victim's life? He had no reason to do so. Motive? Do I have to think of everything myself? I have your contract provided by the witness. What contract is this, Lord Van Seeks? The contract into which Mr. Drebber entered with the victim, Mr. Aspen. It reads, Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations from the government grants or other income. 30%? Certainly very favorable contractual conditions. But there is one very important provision bolted onto that clause. What provision? Mr. Drebber may only uphold his right on condition that both contracting parties are alive. Convenient. In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void. So you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Aspen's death. The diametric opposite, in fact. Need I say more? The witness had neither an opportunity nor a reason to commit the alleged crime. In short, the possibility of Mr. Drebber having done as you suggest is nil. A shoulder shrug, Shimmy. It seems the defense's assertion was somewhat wide of the mark. Lord Van Zeeks, you will submit the contract as evidence, please. We haven't actually had a closing argument yet, but if anything to trigger one, it might be this. It's true. If Drebber had no opportunity to switch the birdcage under the stage with the one in the Crystal Tower, we couldn't have done it. In any case, I have no idea what his motive might have been. There is one aspect of your argument that still holds true, however. There were 2 bird cages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. So I'm sure you're on the right lines, Mr. Naruhodo. And I've no doubt that there are other aspects of your assertion that are undeniable truths, too. Well, it would seem that the defense has no rejoinder to offer. Well, I must say I'm a little surprised. I came here to testify about the machine I built, and instead my reputation is defiled. With the prosecution's counter, I set the record straight, I think. It's impossible that I'm the culprit.
Objection!
Ooh. At the beginning of this trial, we believed that there was only 1 birdcage, and now we know that there must have been 2. In other words, there was more to the demonstration than we realized at first. I think it's about abundantly clear. The same applies to the culprit. Get to the point. 2 culprits. The stage demonstration was constructed and set up in its entirety by you, Mr. Drebber. Therefore, it's inconceivable that you had no hand in the events that transpired. So if circumstances mean it's impossible that you could have carried out the crime yourself, it points to the fact that someone else was involved. Someone else? Counsel, are you suggesting? Yes, my lord. Mr. Drebber had an accomplice.
Objection!
An accomplice now? Well then, I presume you're prepared for what's to come. Now that you're accusing not only this witness, but someone else, the most serious of crimes. If these accusations turn out to be false, then make no mistake, the prosecution will demand an equally serious punishment for your slander. Well, counsel, do you intend to pursue this course and formally accuse another party of involvement in this matter? What do I do here? At the moment, this is little more than a hunch on my part. I don't know for sure if Drebber had an accomplice, or even if he really is the culprit here. One way or another, though, I have to make my position clear. As a lawyer, what's my stance going to be? Did Drebber have an accomplice, or not? This is a difficult choice. A very difficult choice. I'm also of the mind that these choices just don't matter. It's like we could back down and have the response be, I can't name them now, but we'll come back to this. We could back down and say, no, I'm sorry, please don't hurt me too much. I'd be penalized for it, and loop back to this. We can back down and say, no, what am I doing? I can't let this go. And sort of loop back to this. Let's face it, I have no idea who his accomplice might actually have been. Which isn't the strongest position to be in, as it is it, Ryunosuke? Mr. Naruhodo, think of the sword at your side. Karuma is crying out. Sorry? Crying out for you, to show the strength of your conviction now as a lawyer. Yes, you're right. The sword that I inherited, which embodies the will of my best friend, is my own accomplice. Yeah. I'm not sure that's quite the right word, but, that's the spirit, certainly. Defense is ready to name Mr. Drebber's accomplice. Alright, yep. These choices don't matter. Somehow the two bird cages must have been switched. Everything points to that. And according to the coroner's report, that's not a possibility. Then the coroner must be the accomplice. That inconsistency itself is a clue. Counsel? My lord? You've received a stark warning already. If you are nevertheless determined, then I must now ask you to identify this alleged accomplice by name. So, your answer please. Who do you claim to have been Mr. Drebber's accomplice?
Take that!
The name of the person in question is... What's wrong, my Lebanese friend? Surely fear doesn't bind your tongue now. It's a little late for that. Of course I'm afraid. After all, naming her in this capacity is definitely going to make waves. A lot of waves. Could very well turn every single person in this courtroom against me. I'm sure it'll be alright, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you, Mr. Zaro. The enemy always appears larger than life, but you'll appear exactly the same to the enemy. Alright then, here goes. You've kept us waiting long enough. Your answer, counsel. Now. The person who colluded with Mr. Drebber in order to carry out this wicked crime is Scotland Yard's coroner, Dr. Courtney Sith. What the blazes are you talking about? Dr. Sith? The head of the forensic investigation team and the coroner who conducted the autopsy of the victim. We know there were two bird cages, so who could have carried out the switch to complete the illusion? The accident happened in front of a huge crowd of spectators and the area was immediately sealed off. And everyone, police officers included, were banished to make way for the forensic investigation team. When else could the switch have occurred? It can only have been in that team's presence. It's essential that the court determines exactly what happened following the incident. The defense demands that Dr. Sith be summoned to this witness stand at once to testify. You got a nerve, lad. Standing up there, dragging the yard's name through the mud. I didn't mean to. I know the woman very well. There's no better dead room walker out there. How dare you call her a criminal? My learned friend's imagination appears to be wilder than the East End at night. But the recklessness of your accusation aside, there's another grave problem with your argument. One which the prosecution demands you address at once. A grave problem? Oh my word. Who do you claim acted as the victim's doppelganger? Wait, what? Certainly if the birdcage containing the body of the victim was exchanged for another, that cage must also have contained the body. And yet, no missing persons or accidental deaths of anyone who even remotely resembling the victim have been reported. Which means there was no one, dead or alive, who could have fulfilled the role of the body double of Mr. Assman. Oh, that's true. My argument is that there were two bird cages, then there must also have been one person inside each. I don't know if I've got an answer to this yet, have I? What can I do to reveal how this body double stunt was achieved? I'm going to try presenting the waxwork head. Very well. The defense will address my learned friend's concerns, presenting evidence that reveals the true nature of Mr. Assman's body double. Good gracious, evidence? I do hope this isn't filibustering, counsel. The court is expecting a name. If you think you have relevant evidence, present it now. It's possible that both choices can lead to this outcome? Body double and the birdcage were hiding inside the balloon that was floating above the stage. It means that any witnesses would only have seen them from 60 feet away. Who was it that appeared out of the explosion some 18 meters above the spectators? Aha! Wait, the head came off. The body double inside the second birdcage was. The head came off of the waxwork. Maybe it didn't. It was just stashed away.
Take that!
We know that the victim, Mr. Aspen, was in the birdcage that was situated inside the kinesis machine on the stage. Therefore, he couldn't have been inside the second birdcage. Instead, that contained something else. What's been described as a body double, which is what fell from the sky and crashed into the Crystal Tower. Yes, Counsel. According to your somewhat elaborate version of events, that body double inside the second birdcage was, in fact... It's all right, Mr. Naruhodo. You're ready for this. Just steel yourself and come out with it. Thank you, Mr. Zato. I needed that. As I was saying, the body double inside the second birdcage was, as unbelievable as it seems, that thing there that's been here the whole time, apparently. He's not even looking at it. It's just here. Why did we only just notice this now? Open your eyes and look into mine, my Nipponese friend. Yeah. Now tell me, what are you playing at? Stand firm now, Ryunosuke. This isn't the time to show your Japanese spirit. As the court will observe, this is a waxwork model. Slap. Model, in fact, of an infamous London murderer from 10 years ago, the Professor.
Objection!
You started by indicting the leader of the forensic investigation team as an accomplice in this crime. And now you've moved on to indicting waxworks. Yes, that's what the size of it. But why? And why this waxwork? Looks nothing like the victim. In fact, it could hardly resemble him less. What possible justification can you give? Okay, there you go. Confidence slam back. If you want to know why, ask Mr. Drebber. What? Just days before Professor Harebrynn performed his public demonstration, Mr. Drebber abducted this model from Madame Tuspel's. Did you just say abducted? And 2 days after the incident at the Great Exhibition, he returned it to the museum. Then, the timing. Is this true, Mr. Drebber? At first I couldn't see why Mr. Drebber would have stolen the waxwork and then given it back again. But now the reason is clear. He took it so that he could put it inside the second birdcage as a body double for Mr. Aspen.
Objection!
Are you hearing this, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Are you hearing the defense's astonishing proposal? That the witness fabricated this vast machine with the intention of deceiving some wretched scientist. He did so in colluding with the country's finest coroner on a public stage, in front of a vast audience. Yep, it's time for our closing argument. And that, to effect the deception, he used a waxwork model that in no way resembles the victim. Are we really to believe this far-fetched tale? What do you decide?
Objection!
Slap. Wait. Yes, if you put it like that, of course it sounds implausible. My lord, I need to speak, if you please. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Myself and my colleagues have reached an agreement. Very good. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your learnings for the court to hear now.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty!
Guilty.
Kill me!
Yep, alright, here we go. The flame is so extra. So, as indicated by the foreman, the jury has reached a consensus. He knew that was going to happen. We shall get through this, Mr. Naruhodo, as we always do. Uncover some new truths along the way, I'm quite sure. Yes, I agree. I'm going to have to appeal to the jurors as usual and see if I can persuade them to change their minds. The defense will now embark on a summation examination. Are you and your fellows ready to proceed, Mr. Foreman? We didn't even have to invoke it. The judge just knew. This is the one bloke who knows that bloody rule exists. Of course he's going to do it. We are, my lord. Very well. In that case, I ask you now to state clearly for all present to hear the grounds on which each of you has decided that the defendant is guilty of the crime in which he is charged. Over under how many of these are going to be actually fully out of pocket and ridiculous? I've known that woman for years. She'd never be an accomplice to anything. It's utter nonsense to think that those two would ever be conniving with one another. Oh dear, this is most troubling. But surely the waxwork the man stole has nothing to do with the coroner, is it? I think I know how that's gonna connect. I have had my own problems with members of the police. I do not trust them much. So, why'd you vote guilty? I've seen no rigorous proof that the waxwork was ever inside the birdcage. It's conjecture.
Accusing someone without right evidences. He's not a proper job, is he? I won't have it.
Okay, so if we find some concrete evidence we can match with you, somewhat unsurprisingly, it seems the introduction of this waxwork model to the proceedings has polarized opinion. Given that its face is obscured and its build is in no way resembles that of the victim, I can only applaud my learned friends' temerity at suggesting it as Mr. Aspen's body double. Yes, the applause is deafening, and yes, I know it seems extraordinary. But that's the point. That's why I have a strong feeling it's actually a greater clue than anyone yet realizes. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? I can't explain why at the moment, but I feel as though there's a specific reason why it was used, why it had to be this model. Really? A reason why nothing else would do, you mean? Yes, I'm convinced. It's something far more significant than whether or not the model looked like the victim. Well, if that's the case, we must prevent the trial from ending prematurely at all costs. Yes, agreed. I have to find a way out of this. If you are ready, counsel, you may proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord. Hi, Drebber. We will rebut next time.